Reject Nation, Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 5. It's a thick one, it's a long one. What are we hoping for, Baby Yoda? Little Grogu, we're hoping the little Djarin's gonna show back up today. Two grown, creepy-ass men talking about Star Wars. Guys, if you can go ahead and use the Force to hit that like button, that would be very much appreciated. Also, subscribe and get notified when our next reaction for Boba Fett is up. As always, full-length watch-alongs where you sync up with the time code for Book of Boba Fett are over at our Patreon page. Massive thank you to all who have become Super Rejects today, showing your support for the channel by checking all the content we got to offer there. And as always, thanks to the boys at Prepper for helping us edit down these highlights. And we must continue our segment of things that we got wrong or completely flew over our heads last week. And the only one that we really got wrong was we couldn't quite remember the whole thing with Wookiee and Trandoshans, their history. Like, I've seen Clone Wars and I didn't remember the episodes that explored this according to some of the comments from last week. But yeah, apparently there's a whole history of enslaving them that they did even establish in one of the earlier episodes of this show.
Yeah,
where
they brought a pelt in.
Yeah.
But no, like a child Wookiee it looked like.
So get ready to correct us on whatever we get wrong in this episode. We'll bring it up next episode. Thank you guys, because that's what comment boxes are for. Watching a whole like 40-minute video and only commenting what we get wrong. You're helping out the channel. Is this from the same planet where in the Mandalorian episode with Bo-Katan? I think that's him.
Let's do this.
I'm here for Kaba Baez. I'm here to bring him in.
Well, if I see him, I'll let him know.
I see him right now.
That's not me. That doesn't even look like me.
You're racist.
Let's discuss our options.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
I can bring you in like a bitch. Oh! Yeah. Oh.
Wowza!
Man's is powered up. Whoa!
Bringing him cold.
And in two pieces.
That's right. I have the Darksaber. He's like the Ahsoka of this season.
Yeah.
He's up ahead him.
You all can help yourselves to whatever you think you deserve from your former employer.
Just give us Mandalorian season 3.
Come on, guys. You know what we want. It's the body like.
Ah, yes.
Let's do it.
That's a ship. He upgraded it.
Yeah. To Elysium, yes.
I'd put that on ice if I were you.
Wow, with the background, this is one of the most beautiful one takes I've seen in a while. Great use of sound design too. Awesome.
The armorer.
Awesome.
The hilt is of a quality of Beskar I have never seen before.
It was forged over 1,000 years ago by the Mandalore Tar Vizsla.
I have met Jedi.
Then you have completed your quest.
I have.
Then you may join our covert as we rebuild.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the goddamn way.
Fucking A.
Mandalorian steel is meant for armor, not weapons.
Then forge it into armor.
Wow. You're an honorable man.
Had our sect not been cloistered on the moon of Concordia, we would have not survived the Great Purge.
We're gonna actually see
See
this
that?
time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet we are.
Those born of Mandalore strayed away from the path. Eventually, the Imperial interlopers destroyed all that we knew and loved in the Night of 1,000 Tears.
Oh, golly. It's like a nuclear air raid.
How harrowing. Love that they recap all the necessary information you would have needed to watch the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels.
Just a nifty little montage.
Pure.
That was pretty cool. Wow!
Dude.
It gets heavier with each move.
That is because you are fighting against the blade. You should be fighting against your opponent.
The blade should be an extension of you.
I am focused.
The blade says otherwise.
Maybe the dark saber belongs in someone else.
Oh, shit.
Oh, don't get knocked off.
I have loved this. Come on, buddy.
Whoa.
Oof.
Come on.
It is done.
Nice.
Djarin, have you ever removed your helmet?
I think once or twice.
No comment.
I have.
Then you are a Mandalorian no more.
What?
I beg you for your forgiveness.
Oh.
According to Creed, one may only be redeemed in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore.
But the mines have all been destroyed.
This is the way.
There's only like 3 of you.
Come on, guys. Can I take the dark saber with me?
They set us up for Mandalorian Season 3.
Claim that status.
Also win back Mandalore.
Build a home for new waters to reemerge from.
You can't board a commercial flight with your weapons.
You had to buy a seat for it, though.
It's not the same green creature.
Oh,
I got the shape
looks
of the-
like it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, Pelli Motto.
Treadwell, get in there and move that engine block so I can blast it.
Creatures, is it a womp rat? It is a womp rat.
Okay, it's not here. Maybe it ran.
Oh, Jesus.
Jurassic Park.
It's a very strong womp
Whoa! What an entrance! Oh, BD, you good? Oh, good.
Holy crap, I knew I recognized that droid. It's BD-1 from Jedi Fallen Order. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, I should have called that out in the moment. I should have.
Oh,
Still haven't got that clear live action look.
Never, ever will.
where's your unlikely companion?
I returned him to his own kind.
Why the hell would you do that?
Where's the ship?
Right this way.
What?
this is pod.
And I know she doesn't look like much, but you got here a lot earlier than I expected, and I didn't get a chance to finish. I mean, clearly you can see I've got all the parts right here.
It's a good ship.
And in a few years, it'll fly.
Where did you get this?
It's brand new. Well, Jawa new. They give me what I asked for in exchange. I let them pick through my dumpster.
Can I meet them?
Yeah, sure. R5! See if the Jawas are still out back.
R5 lives on.
Free.
Oh, they're waiting for that.
Don't worry about the shape and size. Just get the parts you want, the specs you need, and I'm gonna make it work, all right? I dated a Jawa.
Oh.
Oh, that's okay. I'm working on me right now. Just go find the part.
I just want one piece of concept art with her and a Jawa.
Never thought I'd be so excited for a prequel ship.
Where does this panel go? Thanks, little guy.
Aw, buddy.
You want to thank me now or you want to thank me later?
You get me a Razor Crest, you can have it right back.
Oh, Bantha did all. These are a lot harder to come by than some plain old Razor Crest. Razor Crest.
I feel like he utilizes the Razor Crest shape, the size of it.
I feel like he had a use for everything on that ship. Yeah.
He uses the space.
He's got to be able to take prisoners.
I got it. They said they crawled under a Pike Spice runner and crimped it off while they were refueling.
Pike spice.
Yep.
Pikes do not mess around. Ever since they've been moving spice through the system, everything's gone to hell. Everyone's afraid of them, and law enforcement won't even go near them.
Except one guy.
It fits.
Wake up!
The suns are up. Yes.
Now they silvered it out. Look at that.
Yeah, stripped all that yellow off.
Oh, not a gram of fat on her. You know, no one's catching you in this thing.
They put that thing together fucking fast, man. That was
Yeah, like an afternoon.
a nighttime job.
Start her up.
Really?
Yeah, start her up.
Sure.
It's really mine, huh?
It's working! It's working!
Oh no. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's what I'm talking about.
Gonna be the talk of the town, Mando.
What's up?
Cool. Yes. That's so sweet. I love this.
Ferric, she's fast.
Dang Ferric. Awesome.
God.
She tracks like a rail speeder.
What did I tell you, Razor Crest?
Wop rat.
That's a thumbnail.
Finally. Yeah, go wave at that kid.
McClunky.
It's a term of respect.
Is it the same too?
Floating in the other guy again.
You're not allowed to fly that fast next to a commercial ship.
You're also operating without a beacon. I'm gonna need you to run one for us.
Who's this cameo?
I think we can let him off with a warning this time.
Thank you, officer. I'll have that taken care of.
One thing before you go.
Yes?
Your voice is mighty familiar. Did you used to fly a Razor Crest?
Oh no.
I think you have the wrong guy, officer.
You mind answering a few questions?
Oh, dude. Oh, no.
Attack of the Clones?
That respect must legitimize all past installments.
How was it?
Wizard.
An old friend of yours dropped by, said she was looking for you.
A friend of mine?
Don't worry. I told her I didn't know where you were. Then I locked her out and engaged the hangar security system.
She tell you her name?
Fennec Shand.
Oh yeah, it's a Book of Boba Fett show.
Pay is good.
What's the bounty?
No bounty. We need muscle.
Boba Fett.
He sure would appreciate it.
Tell him it's on the house.
Awesome.
But first, I gotta pay a visit to a little friend.
I called it!
Dallas Howard.
I called it! Yes.
We're gonna get Grogu too? That means we get Luke
right,
also?
Man. Oh, we're gonna get Jedi. We're gonna get
Is
all
it a
sorts of
problem that the most exciting episode is a Mandalorian?
It's not
episode?
about the
It's not
title
about
character of the show. It doesn't feature him whatsoever.
Hum, rabba-rum. Hum, bum, hum, bum. He has no clue he's got a Clone Wars ship on his hands. That ship's seen so much battle, man.
Yeah.
Trying to remember, wasn't there another like thing in Mandalorian where he also had like one of Anakin's? He had a piece of Anakin's pod racing.
Yeah, wasn't it with Cobb Vance?
I think it. Yeah.
Yeah, he had like a speeder made out of one of the pod racer engines.
Yeah. It's just a Mandalorian episode. Like,
I know.
I thought it's gonna be like the Ahsoka's episode where it's like, oh, we're just kicking it off with her here, and then we'll cut back and forth. But this time, it's just like, no, we're just gonna do a Mandalorian episode.
Pretty much. It's a little teaser for season 3.
It's funny. Yeah, it was crazy. I like how they took this episode to give us all the backstory that did not give with the actual Mandalorian show when the Darksaber's introduced, when they throw it all in here.
Part of me is wondering if this is all going to be a great big meanwhile to fill in some holes so that season 3 can be Boba and Mando teamed up.
It's like, let's explain Bo-Katan, Vizsla. They didn't bring up Sabine Wren at all, which I thought was interesting. But that's true. It was just handed off to her at the end there. I really enjoyed the last few episodes of Book of Boba Fett a lot, but there is something about, like, this is...
It just feels like there's an injection of momentum when you get back to Djarin.
And then the fact that we're actually traveling through space at some point, we're like, this is space travel, this is Star Wars.
Well, yeah, and we're on a setting, too, with that big ring that, like, we haven't even really seen before, instead of being in places that we have seen and that are being fleshed out from before. Yeah,
I don't recall what that is. If it's been in Clone Wars or Rebels, guys, you can just feel free to, tell us in the comments. We'll bring it up next episode. But yeah, that was great. That was awesome.
So fun.
That was awesome. Can't wait to see him and Boba.
Yeah, man.
Talk it out.
Be monosyllabic together.
Do you remember me? I am.
Djarin, I need your help.
Let's chitty chat. Well, that was a great one. The first episode of The Mandalorian Season 3 is here with us today. I think that's the first time we've seen a Womp Rat in live action.
In full glory.
I'm pretty sure that's the case. Right? Am I wrong about that? We've seen Womp Rat in other mediums of Star Wars, but I can't recall the time. That's what I've been always itching for, is like, I hope we see a Womp Rat in live action one day. And we finally, that's my main takeaway. It's like, I think we finally got it. Finally got the Womp Rat. We've heard about Womp Rats as a new hope, So I was like, come on, man.
They're legendary.
Let's see some damn Womp Rats.
It only took 40 years to see it.
But if I'm wrong about that, just tell me, and I'm just not remembering that correctly. But this was a great episode. This was wonderful. It was so much more than I wasn't expecting. Just a full-blown, let's just make it a Mando-focused episode. Getting the return of Djarin, catching up there with so much, with Paz Vizsla, the armor, and as they go through the whole backstory of so much to unpack there. I love the training sequence between the armor and Mando, because in Rebels, when Sabine Wren has the Darksaber, she's training with Kanan, and Kanan is Jedi, so she's learning from a Jedi directly, and so that scene was making me think of that. But there's a lot of different context around it, because as much as the armor respects the ways of the Force, she herself is not a Jedi, and their fighting styles and their belief systems, there's a lot of difference the differences there. So you're getting a different type of training sequence, but there's still motifs about it that make one harken back to those moments. And I believe Dave Filoni was involved with Rebel. I think that was his show too. I think so.
Seems like everything animated Star Wars has his hand on at some point.
Anything like monumental TV is his. Yeah. So to be harkening back to that, of course, I thought was just wonderful to behold. And with Paz Vizsla wanting it, it's like if you're a Vizsla, you're gonna want that saber. It's just plain and simple. It's your birthright. Anything that Clone Wars taught me is like, if you're a damn Vizsla, you're gonna want that damn dark saber. And so having a fight between them, and it does make sense to me. It's like they've still been teasing so much of like what happened with the fall of Mandalore under Bo-Katan's rule, because at the end of Rebels, Sabine Wren hands over the darksaber to her, but she didn't, as Armor establishes, they didn't win it by creed, meaning they didn't win it by fighting it out. So I guess I like that it holds that much more credence and weight towards the fact that one does have to earn possession of this, especially if you are indeed an actual Mandalorian. One has to earn possession of this. And, if anyone deserves to rule Mandalore, I think it's Bo-Katan, because she just keeps losing it. She keeps trying to take it. She just keeps trying to unite Mandalore. And then every time we catch up with her, it's like, oh, never mind. It's gone.
It'll happen someday.
Because my viewing experience is different than a lot of people's with Star Wars. It's like, of the animated, it's like I watched Mando season 1. Then I watched Clone Wars, and by the time I watched Clone Wars, the last season was out. Whereas most people watch Clone Wars, then it got canceled, and then they watched Rebels, and then they watched Mandalorian, or I forget the order, but then Clone Wars final season came out way later when Disney Plus was out, right? So I had a different experience with it, whereas like Captain Rex is in Star Wars Rebels. So when I watched Star Wars Clone Wars, I was like, oh my god, is Captain Rex gonna die? But then what if I had watched Rebels? I would have known that. So basically I'm trying to I don't know, I'm just giving you guys my viewing experience, but I forget names and all that pretty easily, just in general with any show. So just to unpack some of the lore here, where we're uncovering everything with the darksaber and the significance, but also going back to I like the consequences of him removing his helmet. Like that's because he did it so much in season 2.
I know. And that being the sort of deciding factor of like, well, you guys are pretty evenly matched, and Din Djarin's got the upper hand on you, and now it just comes down to protocol. Now it comes down to how good of a Mandalorian have you been.
Well, I like the way that scene was executed too, because when he's being questioned about that, he's just quiet. It's like he knows right then and there, like, oh shit, I didn't think I'd actually be asked about this.
I don't know what to do. Can't say anything. I guess I'll just not say anything.
But then this just felt like more pure Star Wars again. Like I've been enjoying Book of Boba Fett. I feel like I've been enjoying Book of Boba Fett more than most people.
Yeah.
It's like online, I'm just like, damn, some people are really bagging on this shit.
Really let down by this.
And I've really been enjoying it a lot. But there is sort of this propelling, almost jumping into hyperspace effect, where when Mando shows up, where you're like, oh god, this is just so much better with him. It
just feels like there's more natural momentum, and I've really enjoyed seeing everything we've seen up until this point with Boba Fett, but I think especially in the present day, like it's clear that, this Mandalorian, this Din Djarin experience is happening pretty close to present day for Boba Fett, at least as of this show. And I feel like up until this point, most of the flashbacks with Boba Fett have been what's really interesting. And so now as they meet up, maybe we will get some real momentum in the present,
Well, it weirdly, if anything, the weird part about it is having this episode in particular, especially one that's solely focused to Mando, to the point where I didn't even care to check in with Boba. It kind of highlights some problems with Boba Fett, the series so far, where I'm like, we barely see Mando's face. Like, we've only seen it a few times, and I'm like, we spent a good amount of, Boba talks a lot more than we probably expected. He's even commented on that himself to Morrison.
Take out some of these lines.
Yeah, he's talked about, you see his face a lot, it's like I'm just so much more endeared towards him, and by the time you get like you establish a motive here with Din Djarin. Granted, we have 2 seasons worth of character with him, and like I wasn't instantly attached to Din Djarin right away. Like I was drawn to him, but I wasn't like, oh, you know, I'm not gonna cry over the guy. But here, you know, it's like, crap, he's stripped of being qualified as an actual Mandalorian, when that's what he's all about. He wants to go see Grogu. Like, his motives, I'm instantly, like, really connected and drawn towards and want to see that journey so much more than I do care about the actual why of what Boba's doing. Like, it's bizarre because it's somehow I was really invested in that, and now I don't care as much because of this episode. So this is such a strong episode, and yet it also made me go, well, I don't really care about the cause of I don't care.
Of what's going to bring them together.
I don't really, I'm not as invested now in Boba's journey because now I just want to see this journey.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are a million reasons that could be, and I guess here and now I'm sitting here thinking it's just that personal edge of, like, you know, him and Grogu, that connection has such a gravity surrounding
There's a lot
it.
more to it.
Whereas, yeah, like, I think it's fun watching Boba Fett set up his ethical crime empire, but also, I don't know. There's something that doesn't feel quite as personal about that journey, I guess. It feels like a thing, an opportunity that's arisen that Boba Fett sees the chance to take, whereas this feels like, you know, you feel how, and it's not even a huge part of the episode, but you kind of feel how lonely he feels without Grogu. And even that is just like a little unspoken layer, but even now that he's, you know, back doing bounties as usual, he's still thinking about the child, he's still propelled there. And 2, checking in with the Mandalorian history and, you know, the stuff about like Tar Vizsla was a combination of a Mandalorian and a Jedi, and he's, you know, learning the Darksaber. Like, that even got me just like my mind going in a way that some of the Boba Fett stuff doesn't get me, you know, like poking out into all different avenues of like, where could this go next, you know? Like, it feels a lot more contained and linear with Boba Fett, whereas Din Djarin, and 2, I mean, like, Boba Fett, everything is very set on, we're setting up something here on Tatooine, whereas like Din Djarin, you know, Mandalorian, you're always traveling to different places and you're sort of always on the run, which has a different flavor to it, I think, just from the get-go.
Well, it's like the Boba Fett series is kind of a weird paradox with this episode that I think occurs. Because the Boba Fett series, what the things I appreciate about it is that it's primarily on Tatooine. It's going for this, like, you know, Star Wars gangster vibe. It's has more of this gritty, slower paced tone to it. Sometimes a lot more meditative, especially when you're dealing with the flashback arena. That's why I'm really drawn to it because of all those reasons. And I thought it was reported that Din Djarin would show up in the show. And so I was under the presumption that this would really highlight the differences between Mandalorian series and the Book of Boba Fett series. And so what they instead did was they got Bryce Dallas Howard, who has directed two episodes of The Mandalorian already, each from a season. And then she pretty much made a Mandalorian episode. So it didn't feel like Din Djarin in the Book of Boba Fett world. It just felt like the Mandalorian the whole time. You know, and so I was under the presumption that this would feel like, okay, this would really show us with Din Djarin being in here with Boba as the lead, and maybe that's what the later episodes will do. Maybe that's what the progression will do, where it's like you're plucking them because tonal wise, like just the vibe of Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett are very different from each other. So I don't know if this is actually doing a disservice to Boba Fett. That's what I mean, where the paradox might come in is like, this is just like so much more. There is more of an energy to it, and even like the personality of Din Djarin in a lot of ways just feels a little bit more relatable.
Something about, I don't know what it is, and even just him, the actor, and I really love Temuera Morrison, and I love, you know, I guess I've learned not to assume that it's always the actor in the suit, even though,
Sure.
Tamara Morrison, you see him in the suit a lot more. But yeah, there's just something about the Din Djarin body, like he just has such a presence based off his body language alone and being with him and something, I don't know, like for as much as people have complained about The Mandalorian even being like, a slow-moving show that's very contained in a lot of ways, I still feel like he brings with him this presence that just lights up the screen in an interesting way, even when he doesn't have Grogu. Because that was the other thing is, people are thinking, and I'm sure, part of it is they've teased, he's going to go see him at some point, Grogu will figure back in probably. But, two, to have it be like, no, he's just back alone. It was still just as intriguing to watch him there.
Yeah.
But it does get me excited that maybe we will all be on the same page next week, depending on how he mixes in with the present of Boba Fett's story, maybe that will be the shot in the arm some people who haven't been enjoying the show as much will need, next week or something like that.
That's what I'm most interested in with Mando being here, is seeing him blend into the world and what he's like as a supporting character for the Boba Fett series.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm like, I could just go for Mando season 3.
I know.
I love you just shifted gears, and it was just his show. So that's the one thing, is I don't want it to undercut that, because I have been enjoying the setup of Book of Boba Fett quite a lot. I'm like, we're only 4 episodes in, guys. That's what it feels like now. Like, we're only 4 episodes in with Boba. There's so much more to unpack, and like Mandalorian was fresh and exciting. It was the first Star Wars show live action on this caliber, so there was a lot more like love to behold, and we're coming off of films that were being divisive for a lot of fans. So it did take a while to propel people to the I really love this show. It was definitely faster than how people have been with the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. But there's been a lot of having to separate how great Mando is, and then adjust to this new one. And that's not to say some of the filmmaking qualities or the execution of the writing sure is not the strongest in certain areas that it can be. I'm not saying those criticisms are invalid. I just think that it still needed some time to really now that we were like, we're done with the flashbacks, let's focus on the present. Then the first episode with the present is a pure Mandalorian story, which is cool. It's like you get the N1 Starfighter moment, and I'm wondering, it does make me wonder what what they've been doing with Mando, and because you do kind of there's been like theories forever about Grogu and what his connection is as being a Jedi, a lineage, and all that. He's with Luke Skywalker, and like we pointed out, he had the thing with a part of the engine of the pod racing in one episode when he was just borrowing some things to use. So we had that, and then here he's getting the N1 Starfighter, which would make you, and it's on Tatooine, so you would assume that's Anakin's.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he was the only one with that ship. I mean, he jacked it in the Phantom Menace, But that that is the ship he uses. So it does make me wonder if they're building, because they did so much like nostalgia for the prequels in this episode.
Yes.
Like the shots were directly like, remember the pod racing? Yeah.
Going through the narrow canyons and stuff. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, I that's something that Marvel has certainly been doing, kind of very focally lately, is going back to the things that not everybody loved and then legitimizing them in new ways. And so I can absolutely see them mining further from the prequels, or for more of those things to make them feel more legit and more vital and more worthwhile in the rewatching, because that's also part of this. Is just you get a big canonical, revisitation cycle.
Well, I don't think the prequels ever had that issue of feeling of importance.
Yeah.
They've always felt super important. And like the level of revere that Dave Filoni has for the actual storytelling, like the way he speaks on it makes me go, shit, maybe I was wrong about feminism. It was actually, I think that's why the prequels are still so important for Star Wars fans, because whatever you think of the actual storytelling and filmmaking, whatever
the story points at hand are still worthwhile.
They're still very integral to the world. Still very integral to the world building. Whereas some people kind of feel like with this Disney sequels that they're
could skip them. Whereas you can't really skip the prequels.
Yeah, the prequels are, if you want to get the world and the lore, like they're vital. So Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it just goes to service enhancing the appreciation for that, or maybe they're just doing some fun stuff. Like Pelli Motto, getting some of her back here, actually dating the Jawas. Like, this is the most time I feel like we've actually just spent with her in kind of a courtier sense.
Oh yeah.
Like they really allowed for a little bit more of just let's spend a little bit of time with the comedy here of like Mando traveling, having to put his weapons in a briefcase, and then a lot of hanging out with Pelli Motto, which was a lot of fun. Like Amy Sedaris is always great. Amy Sedaris, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's always fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
She bangs Jawas. What a creep. Disgusting.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because as much as this episode did have like a sprawling or a more expansive feel as compared to the previous couple, this also did feel kind of like, I like that we spent our time mostly with the Armorer and Paz Vizsla and then Pelli Motto, and it's most of what we're doing. You know, it's still pretty contained to that, but yeah, I felt the parts that you're spending time with and that are taking their time, you know, still feel like they match the story motion of something like The Mandalorian, but also make sense here.
Well, it's like this episode was so important for Djarin.
Yes.
This is such an important episode for his journey. It's literally the setup of what I'm assuming is the setup for Mandalorian season 3. Like, this is so important for him.
Gotta get Grogu's baby armor.
That now but they also executed in such a weird way in terms of where to place this. It's like, okay, if for the live action Ahsoka show, you should probably watch the Mandalorian episode she's in.
Yes.
Right? You don't have to watch all of Mandalorian season 2, but you should probably watch the one she's in.
The intro.
Yes. And then to hear that's what they've done with this is, okay, it seems like whatever he's dealing with next, like maybe he'll meet up with Grogu and we'll see that. Maybe that will be just as important. But it sounds like that if you're someone who's into Mandalorian season 1 and 2, but you don't really care to watch Book of Boba Fett, that you'll have to watch this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this will be canonical because there's too much important history.
Yeah, I mean, he gets removed as a Mandalorian.
Yeah, which is like part of his whole identity, which he's spent so long grappling
and
with.
they actually explain backstory, because a lot of people watched The Mandalorian didn't watch Clone Wars or Rebels, and so you know they explain this stuff here, and they don't even explain all of it, but they boil it down in the greatest Wikipedia description ever. So. Yes. It's so important, and it's I don't know, it's like, as much as I really enjoyed this episode, I'm also fascinated with the more of the feelings of what this does, if this is actually in service of Book of Boba Fett, or it just makes you go, I don't really care about Boba Fett.
Or if this was originally season 3 opener for Mandalorian that then got transplanted into Boba Fett for some other reason for the grander scope of the story.
I mean, they would have to have there's no way it's like they shot Mando season 3 and they placed it just because of the mechanics of the plot of the episode. It's also really convenient that he would show up there when they're just like, we need muscle.
Yeah, right around the time Fennec shows back up, he happens to meet those guards and then return just in time to get offered a job.
Yeah,
it's a little fun timey-wimey.
And then, I'm assuming he was updated on Boba taking over.
I guess so. I mean, yeah, she just must be there. Like, we must cut away right before she gives the big info dump.
Well, I mean, she says like Boba needs help.
Yeah.
I mean, he assumes for Boba.
Yeah.
He assumes Boba, so I'm assuming he knows that Boba's now in charge.
Either that, or he just assumes that if I'm seeing Fennec, I left them two together, so it must be Boba related or something like
Gotcha.
that. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if word made it out there, because he's not that far away from where Boba is. So.
But then again, to give benefit of the doubt, I'm also wondering if the intention of like the first 4 episodes have a very specific tone and style. Now we're really shifting gears in how we're going to proceed. And if like Boba and Mando are together, and that's like, I'm assuming we'll probably get other Mandalorians as well. Like, okay, is the tone really going to take a shift now for the Book of Boba Fett, the series?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be the same?
Boba's going to kill Din Djarin, take the Darksaber, and reestablish Mandalore.
I'm a true Mandalorian now. I don't know. I've really been enjoying Book of Boba Fett a lot, and But yeah, I guess my thing comes down to is like this didn't feel at all like I was watching the Book of Boba Fett anymore.
It was nice to watch The Mandalorian again.
Yeah, that's what it was.
You realize how much I missed The Mandalorian, and also I guess I will say to Boba Fett's credit that it doesn't just feel like a different version of the same The Mandalorian. Like it definitely has its own separate tone and feel to the point where when you do shift to following Din Djarin for a whole episode, it feels like it's a totally other show.
Yeah, that's why I was saying that I thought it would be Din Djarin, like what it would be like to see Din Djarin in the world of Book of Boba Fett.
Next week.
And instead, oh, it's The Mandalorian.
Yep.
Which I loved.
No complaints.
I did love it. I did love it. I can't complain.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, yeah. Let's just wait to see how it goes, man. Guys, subscribe, click that bell, hit that like button. This was awesome. This was it's an awesome journey. I've really been enjoying this journey a lot.
Absolutely.
But yeah, hey, why don't we do a Patron? You got 30 seconds. Shot Sar Ben Israel. Hebrew name means storm.
Ooh, the Gathering Storm. Last week's Boba Fett episode title. That was about you, Sar Ben Israel, because you have the power within you. You could be one of the most pivotal, influential people in all of the galaxy, and all you have to do is complete your training and rise to your mantle. You are the true heir to all the greatness and glory in the universe, Sar Ben Israel. Makes us happy that you're here with this journey with us. And hey, keep tight over there, fulfill your greatness, and stay pledged, and we will always have your back, Sar Ben Israel. Love you, buddy. Happy 2022. Yeah.